Superman Man of Tomorrow, the new DC animated film. And in this film, it's a very bare bones Superman story. It's basically discussing more of the origins of Superman, the beginnings of his career, starting off as Superman. He hasn't even really gotten his costume yet, so it's very much the formative years of him. And all of the major Superman supporting players are here. Lois Lane, Lex Luthor, Mom Pa Kent. I think Jimmy Olsen isn't in this. Perry White is in this though. And it's basically all the major players you expect to see in a typical Superman story, and really him learning to discover his powers. And during the film, a person who really tests his powers is Lobo, who is an alien bounty hunter. Been in a ton of DC animated stuff, for instance, like Justice League the Animated Series, Young Justice, for instance. At one time they even talked about doing a movie of Lobo, the DC universe, if I'm not mistaken. I think The Rock was supposed to play Lobo at one time, or there was talks of that.
I think like Jason Momoa was like their fan cast before they announced he was Aquaman.
Yeah, that would have been actually perfect for Jason Momoa as Lobo. That would have been perfect. That would have fit him a lot better than Aqua Bro. But you have someone like Lobo who comes into Metropolis and fights Superman, testing his abilities. But really, one of the main villains in this is Parasite, and everybody knows Parasite, a major Superman villain. What he can do is he can, as soon as he touches somebody, he can like absorb their life force, and especially when it's somebody who's a superpowered person like Superman, he can take their abilities along with it. And one thing I've never seen them do with Parasite, which this film does, is as soon as he touches Superman, like his powers get stronger, but also he keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger, almost like a kaiju monster. And they kind of treat him like that in the movie, like a Godzilla type monster, even in the way they fight him as he continuously kind of grows, which is something I've never seen them do with the Parasite character. Also with another addition, you have Martian Manhunter, who is another big Superman supporting player, also a member of the Justice League in the film as well, who shows up to also aid Superman. And him and Superman do have a connection due to them being people who've both lost their planets, people who are kind of looking for a home, searching for other people like themselves. So they do have that type of connection in the film. And I think that it's not trying to do anything. It's not trying to go crazy. It's not trying to really tell any story that you probably haven't heard before with Superman. It's just trying to stick to the basics, which I think is kind of refreshing, but also kind of makes it kind of dull in a sense, because it's like we've seen the formative years of Superman, especially someone like me. I've seen this a lot, and with these DC animated films, one of my biggest criticisms is you do a lot of DC animated films based on the big people, right? Based on Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman,
okay, yes,
Justice League. Like you don't really do all the other ones, all the other great characters in the DC library, which I think is a shame. You just stick with the main people, which I get. I mean, they're the big blockbuster superheroes, so you want to return on your investment for making these, and more people would probably be interested to see a Batman movie rather than a Booster Gold Blue Beetle movie. Okay, I get that. I understand that, but I just wish they would kind of more branch out in doing more stuff with their DC animated films. The animation style of it, which is kind of like this cell kind of shaded kind of look in it.
Yeah, it's very cell shaded. It kind of reminded me a lot of the Batman Year One animated movie they did. It also like had a lot of Darwin Cook vibes.
Oh, that's a good comparison. And I liked it how it looked. I liked it in motion. It may not look all the best. Maybe if you're just looking at maybe a still image of it. But I do like the look of it. I think it does work pretty well. It is, not the typical thing they've done with most of the DC animated films. Overall, Nick, what did you think about just the story and just what they were doing with it?
I think the story with this, I It is, like you said, a very bare necessities Superman origin story, but I think this gets by a lot with its heart and by how great the voice cast is. Like Clark Kent is seen as the small town, salt of the earth farm boy who's very charming. He's very personable. A lot of that I think is because of Darren Criss's voice performance and his relationship with his parents. John Kent is voiced by Neil Flynn, who was the janitor from Scrubs.
His voice did sound very familiar. I was like, I think I have heard that voice before. Okay, so it's the guy from Scrubs. That makes sense. Okay.
Yeah, and I think this story has a lot more depth to it as far as dealing with the xenophobia around an alien, because like the opening scene is him watching an alien movie, and little Clark Kent is just breaking down when his friend is like, "Oh, that guy's so ugly." I was like, "Oh, fuck, man," which that actually kind of got me. And like you were saying, that him and Martian Manhunter both have a connection because they're the last of their kinds. I feel like the connection could also be applied to Lobo in this. And like it's how 3 different looks at being the last of your kind. Like Manhunter, he's very monotone. He's very self-serious by nature, and Lobo, he is just straight comic relief psychopath. Which I actually really liked Lobo in this.
Yeah, Lobo is always really fun. In most stuff I've seen him in. Even though I think when he was in Young Justice, I think they took a little bit more of a serious take with Lobo. Like he was just more of a pure threat. Like I think in the scene when he's fighting Superboy, I believe he was just kind of more of a pure threat in that, rather than just kind of comic relief. And I think, seeing him in this is more what I'm used to him seeing, like how he was like in Justice League the animated series, like more comedic tone, more comic relief, which is kind of how I'm more used to seeing him. And that is a very interesting perspective that you bring up of how like it's 3 different perspectives of aliens and how they kind of interact with kind of being mostly alone, in this world. Martian Manhunter being a Martian, and how he's kind of dealt with it, and Superman, how he's kind of dealt with it. At least he did have the growing up in Kansas with his mom, Pa Kent. That kind of gave him something sense of groundedness. But it really more addresses like Superman is an alien, and he discusses of having that, of trying to like come out of going like, yeah, I am an alien, I embrace being an alien, and the reason I want to be a hero is to show people more of like, hey, aliens aren't all kind of bad and all of what you see in the movies. So that is a very kind of interesting thing they kind of do bring up in this.
It felt like what Zack Snyder should have gone for in Man of Steel. It's like, hey, this guy is an alien, but it's his heart and his humanity that make him the great hero he is.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I was going to bring up of this. That's exactly what Zack Snyder wanted to do, which is one of the things I kind of liked about Man of Steel, which bringing up his more alien side of how he is a person from another planet, and how he feels just so out of place in this world. That's exactly what I was going to bring up. And yeah, I mean that's what Zack Snyder tried to do mostly, and I think mostly kind of failed in Man of Steel. This one I think does a very good job at examining it, and it's only an hour and 28 minutes, hour and 29 minutes, so it clocks around like
this, like most of the DC animated movies, are at top. I think the longest one is the last one they put out. It's Justice League Apocalypse War, and even that caps at like an hour 30 minutes.
Yeah, so it's a quick watch, and I do think you will. Most people will probably enjoy it. Don't look for anything, like I said, bare bones kind of story. Don't look for anything too crazy in its storytelling. The action in it is, perfectly fine. There's some good fight scenes he has with Lobo, Parasite. Zachary Quinto as Lex Luthor does a pretty good job as Lex Luthor, voicing the character, and he's just as evil as always, Lex Luthor. Alexandria Daddario, who voices Lois Lane, very, very much, kind of the Lois Lane, very much the kind of, intrepid reporter, always looking for the story, always trying to get the story. Very much fits that character very well. Overall, I'd say it's, pretty good. I would give it a 7 out of 10 myself. If you always want to check us out, we are on all the social medias, Facebook, Twitter, all that stuff. You can always check us out. To all you wonderful people out there listening to this, hope you have a wonderful day, and don't forget to always stay tuned.